back again. And we apologize that last week we did not show as we did. And this week it's George's turn to sing. You can say it's my birthday. It's my birthday too, yeah. Okay, so George has had another year go by today, and so we're fortunate to all be together for the sake of that. We were going to have a meeting today anyhow, because we were going to do the last Saturday and the first Saturday. We missed the first Saturday, so now we're doing this second Saturday, and we'll have like what? Next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
So we get 2 meetings together, then there'll be 1 week break, and then the last Saturday again. So there will be kind of 3 meetings this month, and we'll get through a lot of this stuff.
All right.
Okay, so we're continuing on with Chapter 3 of President Keita's lecture on attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime. All right, and we'll, like last week, we'll go back to the key points from Chapter 2 and start there. Thank you, dear. I don't need more of that, obviously. And start there, and then I will be going back to some other Gosho that he's going to be mentioning in Chapter 3. So, the key points from Chapter 2, right? Yeah. On page 19, what we talked about last time, which was actually, again, unfortunately, 3-4 weeks ago. Uncovering people's inner potential. This, the point where Buddhism radically departs from many other philosophies and religions is that it uncovered within the individual's own life the law, or limitless inner power for resolving all sufferings on most essential level. A Buddha is one who, based on this law, has attained the ultimate wisdom to fundamentally put an end to suffering and construct indestructible happiness. Buddhism is a teaching of unparalleled humanism that stresses the boundless potential within human beings. That's why it's called the internal way. That's from page 13. Pardon me, I'm having a little bit of indigestion. The mystic truth of life and the universe from page 14. The cosmic life enfolds and pervades everything, and because it does so, it is also inherent in all things. The oneness of the cosmic life in our individual lives lies at the heart of the principle of the mutually inclusive relationship of a single moment of life and all phenomena. We discussed that, right? That's the inseparability of all things. That's essentially what that's talking about. To awaken to this mystic truth, that is a very difficult to perceive truth, but it's the basis of what he's talking about when he's writing this Gosho. He says, the oneness of the cosmic life in our individual lives lies at the heart of the principle of the mutually inclusive relationship of a single moment of life and all phenomena. To wake to this mystic truth. Now, what's that saying though when it's to awaken to this mystic truth? What is a mystic truth?
You're the Buddha, exactly.
Yeah, that's the truth he's talking about. But what does mystic truth mean? It means that it's very difficult to perceive. Okay? And in actuality, it's something that's unfathomable on just the surface. Okay? It takes a contemplative process. It takes a depth of effort to achieve the understanding of what mystic truth really means. In other words, it's just a couple of cool words. Mystic truth. Oh, it's the mystic truth. The mystic truth. Now we're talking about something that's at the fundamental predication of every moment of reality for everything. Okay? So he says, to awaken to this mystic truth is to attain the Buddha's unsurpassed enlightenment. That's all we're trying to get to. That's all we have to get to, is to perceive that essential nature that's inherent in not just us, but in everything. That's page 14. The meaning of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo from page 16. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo enables each person to actualize a way of life based on the universal truth of Myoho Renge-kyo. The crucial point in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in Nichiren Buddhism is not simply intoning the name of an external truth. It constitutes a practice to actually summon forth the inner truth that pervades the universe and our own selves and lives, and live our lives in accord with that truth. Obviously, we're talking about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This practice could be described as a process of establishing a self capable of activating and tapping from within the mystic truth originally inherent in all living beings, which means what? We know how to chant Daimoku in front of the Gohonzon and actually bring forth our Buddha nature rather than theoretically bring forth our Buddha nature. There's a difference. There's understanding the framework of all of this, and but that doesn't require faith. The faith that it's inherently true, that it's absolute, that there's no distinction that could make it anything but the absolute truth. And that only comes from your heart. Okay, so that's what actually creates that. It's nothing other than you. All right? And so then, establishing a Buddhism of the people. Nichiren established a means by which all people can awaken to the truth of life and the universe within their own lives. This is all about what's really the truth in your life. What is the real truth inside your life? The actual Gohonzon of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. The life state of Buddhahood. Okay? He says, Nichiren established a means by which all people can awaken to the truth of life and the universe within their own lives and actively manifest that truth. And how do you actively manifest it? What's actively manifesting it? Walking around being the Buddha?
Chanting?
Yeah. To actively manifest that truth is only done through Daimoku. If you don't chant Daimoku to the Gohonzon, this is not, mind candy. This is a process. This is a real process for achieving a real thing called real enlightenment. That's the whole point. Okay? Moreover, this truth is the enlightened wisdom of all Buddhas and is revealed in the Lotus Sutra, which is the highest teaching of Buddhism. By basing ourselves, may I have a tissue? By basing ourselves on that truth, we can lead lives of supreme value. Nichiren Buddhism made this realm of truth accessible to anyone, anywhere, anytime, no matter what his or her background. It would be no exaggeration to say that the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in Nichiren Buddhism gave rise to a Buddhism of the people. This practice of chanting is indeed the supreme Buddhist practice, making it possible for us to fundamentally transform our lives, achieve actual Ichinen Sanzen. That's from page 17. The direct path to manifesting Buddhahood. To chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is to summon forth our own Buddha, our own innate Buddhahood. Okay, to summon forth our own innate Buddhahood. How do you do that? By just chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon?
No.
No, how?
To be a Buddha in your life.
Huh?
To be a real Buddha in life.
Well, to be
By
a
your
real Buddha
action.
in life, you have to activate
action,
it.
yeah.
But what action manifests that and establishes it as a reality and not hyperbole?
Study.
Huh?
Study.
Active.
Chant.
Actual Ichinen Sanzen is not an understanding. It's a behavior.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the point. That's the point. This is not something you can just understand. If you're not doing it, you're not doing it. Okay? It's theoretical.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is to summon forth our own innate Buddhahood. To chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, not to walk around in the 10th world in daily life, because we very rarely ever are able to hold on to that 10th world, moment to moment, minute to minute, hour to hour. That almost never happens. Okay? It's a fact. It's not necessary for it to happen. That's not what Buddhahood is. Buddhahood is to be able to summon your Buddha nature and have the capacity to do so. It's not realistic to think that you're going to walk around in some 10th world state at all times and never be affected by anything because you're just such a Buddha. Okay? I mean, if you're those kinds of people, I think some of them do exist. I've met a few. I could never tell if they were really faking it. I've known very many more that showed a variety of emotions throughout the course of any circumstance. Okay? And that made them real people. Okay? So, let me finish this. To chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is to summon forth our own innate Buddhahood. It is the direct path to manifesting that highest state of life. The wisdom and compassion of a Buddha that emerges through chanting enriches our life condition, and that's what we carry forth for the rest of the day. That's you know, Buddhahood in your present form. It's always in conjunction with the 9 worlds. It's never 10th world on 10th world. Do you understand? That's the whole point. We're not supposed to really even be able to do this until Jintai qualified that we can. All right? Further, and as more and more people come to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo for the happiness of themselves and others, it will be possible to forge an alliance of people filled with the compassion of a Buddha and to ultimately transform even the destiny of humankind. That's page 17. This is the last one. Causing the sun of Buddhahood to rise within. As Nichiren indicates when he says that the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo he chants for the happiness of self and others toward the realization of Kosen-rufu clears the clouds of ignorance. Now, what's the clouds of ignorance?
Fundamental darkness.
Clouds of ignorance could be, you know, fundamental darkness is the root of all delusion.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the simple answer to anything that isn't Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, but what is he talking about here when he says clears the clouds of ignorance? He's talking about the reality that we go through our lives lots of times thinking we know what we don't know. Okay, and we hold on to what we believe those correct beliefs are, regardless of what the teaching says, or without actually trying to perfect our lives and our faith and our practice to the Gohonzon by beseeching such a circumstance. We think we already know it, so we chant the way we already know it all the time without giving any rise to a thought that maybe I might have let something kind of slip in and corrupt what I'm doing. I certainly know I have. Okay? Last week I started the meeting by asking how many people did something different in front of the Gohonzon when they got in front of the Gohonzon and so forth. Do you all remember me making that comment? And I was referring to the fact of basically right off the bat establishing with the Gohonzon that perception, that correct understanding of I am the Buddha, I am the thus come one, exactly as I am. I am an entity of the mystic law. Now, I've been trying to do that. I told you I'd ask you if you did it. And again, it doesn't matter if you didn't chant yesterday, you don't chant tomorrow, you don't chant for a week. You will still be an entity of the mystic law whenever it is that you chant to the Gohonzon, whenever you chant, period. All right? So, again, what I found for myself was that as I continued to try and do that, that was an effort. That was not something that just automatically occurred because I'm smart enough to know to do it. And I am smart enough to know to do it. I caught myself hitting the Gohonzon and going straight to my frustrations more than once. And then having to catch myself and go, oh, excuse me, sorry, let's start off correctly. I am a thus come one of original enlightenment, eternally endowed with the 3 bodies. I am an entity of the mystic law. I am a Buddha, just as I am. I'm one with the mind of Nichiren. Those kinds of thoughts totally changes where my daimoku goes from there. If I come right in and I forget to do that, I'm immediately manifesting something that's kind of an outside issue. Okay? I am. I'm already saying, Gohonzon, fix these things. Fix this. I don't like this. Fix this. I want this change. You know? I'm not starting by going, I am the source of that. Okay? And having correct thinking about it. Instead, I'm just complaining. I'm just farting underwater. I'm wasting my time as it relates to advancing what I want to advance. You know, I'm not wasting my time anytime I chant daimoku. The reason I can have these thoughts is because of all the daimoku that's preceded it. Okay? So there's no such thing as wasted daimoku, but I'm saying getting your head straight before you start chanting isn't an easy thing to do, even when you become mindful and make a determination to do so. So if you don't even try to become mindful and make a determination to do so, I think you'll have a difficult time following the guidance of this Gosho lecture by Daisaku Ikeda, because he's going to emphasize that over and over and over again, because that's the basis of this Gosho. This Gosho was the Daishonin telling, who was it? It was either Toki or who did he write this to? Shit. Excuse me. Don't want to be foolish here. Toki. It was Toki. He wrote this to Toki, okay? He was trying to let Toki know the straight deal from his heart, whether he would understand it or not. Toki was only a 2-year member when he was laying all this heavy stuff on him. What 2-year member is going to be able to absorb all this in its pure, in its depth? Okay, so just remember who it was written to, why it was written, and the function of it for us in our lives right now. On page 20, starting chapter 3. If you think the law is outside yourself, you are not embracing the mystic law. So if you don't perceive yourself to be the Buddha and the source of everything that's going on with you when you're chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon, and that the function of the Gohonzon is to allow you to reveal the Gohonzon within your own life. Okay, when you take on as the object of devotion your very life itself, I think is the way he's going to ultimately say it. Okay, the object of devotion is your very life itself, he says repeatedly. It's not a scroll, it's not a wood carving. Okay, so he says, going back to the Gosho and reading the section that we'll be reading. I just hit this again. Did I move it? I just
no, that's okay.
Okay. Okay, going to the Gosho, page 20. I don't need this yet. Even though you chant and believe in Myoho Rengekyo, if you think the law is outside yourself, you are embracing not the mystic law, but an inferior teaching. Inferior teaching means those Buddhist teachings other than this Lotus Sutra, which are all expedient and provisional, all of them. No expedient or provisional teaching leads directly to enlightenment. And without the direct path to enlightenment, you cannot attain Buddhahood, even if you practice lifetime after lifetime for countless kalpas. Attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime is then impossible. Therefore, when you chant Myoho and recite Renge, which we already read that footnote once, he's saying, when you chant Nam Myoho Rengekyo, you must summon up deep faith that Myoho Rengekyo is your life itself. Starting on 20, page 20, first column. To chant Nam Myoho Rengekyo is to commune with the mystic law. So what's commune? When we go out and we go on a field trip and we commune with nature, what is a commune? What does it mean to commune? You contemplate. It's really a mind thing. When you commune with something, it's not something that's conversational necessarily. Okay? So what he's saying here, to chant Nam Myoho Rengekyo is to commune, is to communicate actually with the real mystic law of Nam Myoho Rengekyo, which does exist inside you as well as inside of everything else. Okay? So you're not talking about communing with something that's your imagination or only one place or another in a very specialized circumstance of access. Communing with the mystic law can occur in any life condition, in any location, at any time. Right? It says to chant Nam Myoho Rengekyo is to commune with the mystic law. It is a Buddhist practice, not a Buddhist belief. It's a Buddhist practice for fusing our lives with this law, for manifesting it from the inherent potential that exists within us. At the same time, it is a battle to conquer the inner darkness that prevents this fusion from taking place. And we all know what that is, right? It's hard. It's not so simple as to just start chanting and then everything else fades away. You have to overcome adversity that continues, right? You're still in the 9 worlds, right? At the same time, I'll read it again. It is a battle to conquer the inner darkness that prevents this fusion from taking place. Why is it an inner darkness that prevents this fusion from taking place? What's the inner darkness? What is the inner darkness? You're going to say fundamental darkness and the devil, the sixth heaven, but what is the real inner darkness? Our inability to perceive ourselves as Buddhists.
Yeah.
The inner darkness is that thing that makes us say, well, that sounds good, but how could that be real? Okay, that makes us doubt it. That stops us from having the first natural reaction when we sit in front of the Gohonzon to say, I am an entity of the original state. Okay, to be that confidently foundationalized in the Buddhism of Soing as the Bodhisattva of the earth. Okay, so that's the battle that we all go through.
Right.
That we all go through. I go through it.
Right.
When through our practice of faith we vanquish this inner darkness of illusion and ignorance and become one with the mystic law. So what did that just say? When through our practice of faith, so what did that just say?
Practice with faith.
Practice of faith. In other words, the only way to battle is to have faith, and to practice, but that the practice is based on faith. It's not based on because I told you so, or because that's the rule. Okay, all right. Based on faith, because what is the faith that we're having here that we're talking about? Our practice in faith is what? That the teaching is correct. And that the fact that we are Buddhas, can be Buddhas in our present form, is correct. That the teaching is correct. That's how we vanquish this darkness of illusion and ignorance and become one with the mystic law by becoming aware of the truth. That's called the attainment of enlightenment, right? Its infinite power unfolds in our lives when we're able to reveal the truth of our original state. Such is the immeasurable benefit of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, because the only way this process goes is by chanting. That's the only thing that starts it. And the minute you don't chant anymore, it goes away. Plain and simple. The essence of this practice, established and propagated by Nichiren Daishonin, is to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. See those stars right there? Filled with the seeking spirit, to continually develop our faith or confidence in its power. How do we do that? Filled with a seeking spirit to continually develop our faith or confidence in its power. That seeking spirit is constantly chanting Daimoku to be able to manifest the proof of actual fact for the sake of others. To see that what we're doing, yeah, we got the benefit of the proof of the action. Why did we have that prayer? It's to help each prayer that we have serve not just ourselves, but everybody. That's the way it's supposed to work. Okay? So he's saying, filled with the seeking spirit to continually develop our faith and confidence in his power. So what does that also say? It's a never ending. It's a never ending. You didn't get through the finish line ever. You're continually doing this. I'm still doing it 50 years later almost. Okay? President Ikeda is qualifying. He's still doing it. Why did Daisaku Ikeda's writings slightly change from, say, the early 70s to now? He's continued to grow. He's continued to be able to express wisdom more clearly, more replicatably to the rest of us. He's not a god to me anymore. Okay? Okay. It is the heart that is important, which we know from the Strategy of the Lotus Sutra, page 1000. When it comes to chanting, therefore, we should above all strive to summon forth the courage with which to overcome illusion without being defeated by the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils. That's the other 3 stars. What was that just talking about? When it comes to chanting, therefore, we should all strive to summon forth the courage, okay, which is perseverance and fearlessness, with which to overcome illusion without being defeated by the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils. What did the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils come out for? To just fuck with you? Excuse my French. I did it again. I'm sorry. To just screw with you? Is that what the 3 devils and the 4 obstacles, the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils are for? No. What are they there for? They are there to stop you from attaining Buddhahood, and that's the only time they manifest. If it's the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils, it's because you're doing the things that have brought forth the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils. And the thing that brings forth the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils is to get closer and closer to actualizing the goal and the ideal of Buddhahood. So that's why he says, when it comes to chanting, therefore, we should all strive to summon forth the courage with which to overcome illusion. What's the illusion that we're overcoming? That we're not Buddhas. That we're not entities of the mystic law. That we're not good enough. We don't qualify. Don't tell anybody. All those other guys, I can see it for them, but not for me. You with me?
No, yeah,
All right.
that's not true.
Okay. That's the 3 obstacles and the freaking 4 devils. That's what I'm saying. That's why you got to summon courage to defeat them.
Yes.
Because they are going to be filling your ears with that.
Yes.
Right.
Okay?
All the
Or
time.
you're going to have circumstances occur in your daily life and you're going to go, well, this isn't a benefit. I'm not protected. Okay? They'll affect you however they have to knock you down off of the horse. Okay? Continuing on page 21, Myoho Rengekyo is the name of the ultimate mystic truth, and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the name of the life state of Buddhas who embody and reveal this truth. What did that just say?
Yeah,
That was like really deep. I don't know if that one slipped by you. It's just a single plural. Did you hear what he wrote? Myoho Renge-kyo is the name of the ultimate mystic truth, and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the name of the life state of Buddhas.
right.
Plural. We're all Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come ones, when we are really the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay? Who embody and reveal this truth. We are Buddhas that have come to achieve Kosen Rufu. That's the reason we have the issues in our lives that we're faced with every day. Thus, when we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with conviction, with this sense of, I believe that I am a bodhisattva of the earth. I am a disciple of the original teacher. The infinite benefit of Myoho Renge-kyo unfolds in our lives. That means there's nothing we can't chant for and manifest. That's the difference between people that get all kinds of benefits and some that don't seem to get so many benefits. Trust me, it's how you approach the Gohonzon as much as it is anything. And I've tried to share this with people for my whole practice of almost 50 years. And so I know how hard it must be to grasp, because what I was taught so capably by my mentors, I haven't done a very good job, I guess, of expressing myself. Because it's really the key. The key is this level of faith. Thus, when we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with conviction, he's talking about faith.
Yes.
The infinite benefit of Myoho Renge-kyo unfolds in our lives, and it's less than infinite if yours isn't infinite. It's all cause and effect. This is what it means to bring forth the world of Buddhahood. Okay? At work here is the principle of cause and effect in a single moment of life, in which faith is the cause and manifesting the life state of Buddhahood is the effect. When we continue chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo through times of both suffering and joy, while striving for our own happiness and for that of others, we can establish as the core and innermost essence of our lives the benefit of the cause and effect for attaining Buddhahood, which are themselves contained within the practice of chanting. Everybody with me on that? Okay, so what did you just describe there? He described the stuff you do before you realize you're a Buddha. When you're practicing as a Soka member, you're doing all of that. You're chanting through good times and bad, to overcome your own problems. You know, this is all for benefit, actually, right? And you're encouraging other people. You're asking them to come to meetings. You're telling them about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? So all of the causes to where you're going are contained within those actions. He says, when we do so, the indomitable state of Buddhahood emerges within us. This is the meaning of attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime. In his treatise on the... everybody's with me?
Yeah.
In his treatise, The Object of Devotion for Absorbing the Mind, Nichiren states, Shakyamuni Buddha, who has attained perfect enlightenment, is our own flesh and blood. His practices and the resulting virtues are our bones and marrow. he explains that to embrace Myoho Renge-kyo is in itself attaining enlightenment. Okay? Now, a lot of people will hear that phrase and think they're being correct, and in my mind, they are not, because I know what it's actually referring to, and I'll point to that now. And just because you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is not the equivalent of you having attained Buddhahood. Okay? Because there's all kinds of caveats on how you have to chant that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And every time he's now going to mention this, he's going to bring out that PS. But it's for when you do this, okay? So the first thing you'll notice is that on page 21, that chapter, that section that I just read, right here, it's down here somewhere, right? Four. Okay, so I'm going to go to page 26, and for clarity, I'm going to stop right now and qualify what he just said in a definition form. Embracing Myoho Renge-kyo is in itself enlightenment. The mystic law is the fundamental. The mystic law is the fundamental law by which all Buddhists throughout past, present, and future attain enlightenment. We all agree on that. Nichiren perceived the mystic law in his own life and manifested it in the concrete form of the Gohonzon, the object of fundamental devotion. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with faith in this Gohonzon, constitutes the practice of observing one's mind in order to attain Buddhahood by perceiving the mystic law within one's own life. Now, I can point to a lot of examples that I'm aware of people that have chanted for some time that did not realize that just simple chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. There's a big bird out there. Damn.
Yes, over there.
About half size of a turkey.
Smaller.
No.
Half
it's
size.
turkey.
Okay. He says, again,
Small turkey.
Let me read that definition one more time.
All right.
Embracing Myoho Renge-kyo is in itself enlightenment, This is what that means. The mystic law is the fundamental law by which all Buddhists throughout the past, present, and future attain enlightenment. Nichiren perceived the mystic law in his own life and manifested in the concrete form of the Gohonzon, the object of fundamental devotion. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with faith in this Gohonzon constitutes the practice of observing one's mind. So you've got to be chanting with faith. Constitutes the practice of observing one's mind in order to attain. So this is a step-by-step basis. This isn't like the first time that I chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Yeah, I heard the name and the words of the truth, and I'm on the path that will never stop until I attain Buddhahood. But me just saying Nam-myoho Renge-kyo one time did not make me enlightened. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? He says then, to attain Buddhahood by perceiving the mystic law within one's own life. This is the principle of embracing the Gohonzon, is in itself attaining enlightenment. So when you perceive that the Gohonzon and your life are inseparable, they're the same thing, that's that. Okay? All right, so the power of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo enables us to actualize cause and effect in a single moment of life. That is faith, cause, leading to the manifestation of our Buddhahood, effect. Considered in this light, one's voice chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the voice of unshakable faith and the seeking spirit that breaks through the inner darkness of ignorance and illusion and sweeps away all obstacles and devilish functions. It is the courageous lion's roar that issues forth from the Buddhahood one reveals as a result of chanting. Everybody's with me? The chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is not only the voice of faith of ordinary people, it is also the voice of Buddhahood. For that reason, we should always try to chant resoundingly with a vibrant and vigorous rhythm like that of a galloping horse. Now again, that's a Soka tradition, okay? That I've heard some people attack saying, Nichiren never said you should chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. He never said how to chant, how vigorously to chant. Okay, this comes from the practice that was established by Makaguchi, okay, and the Teachers Association, and then Toda, and how he taught his direct disciples in the enlightenment that he had attained in prison, and that President Ikeda has carried forward from those two previous mentors. Okay, Daisaku Ikeda did not make up this galloping horse stuff that I heard say, Daisaku Ikeda tried to say we have to go to chance. No, Daisaku Ikeda has never done anything other than convey the teaching of his mentor, frankly speaking. Okay, so the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is not the only voice of faith is not only the voice of faith of ordinary people, it is also the voice of Buddhahood, because we're both. It is for that reason we should always try to chant resoundingly with a vibrant and vigorous rhythm like that of a galloping horse. It can also be said that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is an action by which we affirm that we ourselves are inherently entities of Myoho Renge-kyo. It represents a struggle to return to our true original selves and tap the innate life force that we have possessed from time without beginning. What did that just say? It can also be said that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is an action by which we affirm that we ourselves are inherently entities of Myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, that's a great thought, right? Then here's the kicker again. It represents a struggle to return to the true, to our true original selves. Okay? So it's not going to happen just because we've said magic words. There's action involved in all of this. There's karma involved in all of this. Okay? It's more involved than that. If you want it to really be real like the teaching says it is. I mean, a lot of people could talk happy talk, and people go Titan after 20 years because it never worked out that way. Okay? Get through all that by understanding what it really says. All right? I'll say it again. It can also be said that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is an action by which we affirm, we qualify, we validate that we ourselves are inherently entities of Myoho Renge-kyo. And because doing it is difficult and will be met with difficulties that will try to keep it from occurring, it represents a struggle to return to our true original selves and to tap the innate life force that we have possessed from time. What is that? That innate life force we have possessed from time without beginning. What is that? Okay, it represents a struggle to return to our true original selves and tap the innate life force that we have possessed from time without beginning. It represents the struggle to achieve Buddhahood in our present form, is what that just said. Because Buddhahood is our original state. Okay? Nichiren declares there is no true happiness for human beings other than chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo from happiness in this world. This happiness, he says, is the boundless joy of the law. Joy of the law, because again, I'm sorry I'm going so slow, but I want you to get a better grasp on these concepts because they sound like happy talk otherwise. All right? How many times have you heard that? Boundless joy of the law. Is that what you walk around feeling most of the time? Boundless joy of the law. Really? Good for you. Okay.
Does that mean overcome each struggle?
Well, that's actually the boundless joy of the law is the never decreasing confidence that no matter how shitty it is at this moment, I am an entity of the mystic law.
Yeah.
These are freaking devilish functions that are trying to kick me off the horse because they're scared shitless of what I might do if I continue. I'm going to do Kosen Rufu.
Right.
That's what that is. Okay? So he says, that's the boundless joy of the law. That sense that you can't be defeated even when you feel like shit. You keep chanting.
Yeah.
Okay? So it isn't about feeling elation. It's about feeling determination and conviction. That's what faith is.
Endless
Right?
defeat.
Huh?
Endless defeat, the devilish function.
No, it never stops.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay, it's got the same problem, same problems we have to continue that.
Yes.
Nichiren declares there is no true happiness for human beings other than chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This happiness, he says, is the boundless joy of the law. Joy of the law describes the unshakable happiness and peace of mind inherent in all existence. To experience this joy means to fully savor and enjoy the infinite life force that is one with the mystic law. Nichiren explains that the only way for us to taste the joy of the mystic law is through chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Why? Only by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo will we attain Buddhahood in our present form. And if we attain Buddhahood in our present form, we'll attain Buddhahood in every lifetime. And if we attain Buddhahood in every lifetime, this joy of the law is going to follow us around like stink on a fart. Okay? It's an effect. It's not a cause. Okay? It's an effect. There we go. Okay. Finally get to the next page, 22. The mystic law and incomplete teachings. Lots of stars here. Given that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has such profound meaning, it's at the top of page 22, first column, it is crucial to remember that when we chant, it is crucial to remember when we chant that Myoho Renge-kyo is our lives themselves. I'll say it again because that's what the whole point of the Gosho is. Given that chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has such profound meaning, it is crucial, he's saying again, to remember when we chant that Myoho Renge-kyo is our lives themselves. And I'm going to keep banging this home because I think we all have to really try to do better at maintaining that perspective. If we lose sight of this point, then no matter how much we may chant, we will have departed from the practice of chanting taught by Nichiren Daishonin, and we'll be doing all this daimoku and seeing less effect, less, where's the reflection for my effort? Well, your effort's incorrect. The Gohonzon is not going to reward incorrect effort. As you grow older in practice, if your faith isn't growing, if your wisdom isn't growing because you're pursuing that now, okay, you're not going to understand this. All right? And you're not going to be rewarded for not understanding it. How can you lead other people to Buddhahood if you yourself never gave a shit about attaining Buddhahood? Right? You just want benefits.
Yeah.
All right? There's a difference.
Yes.
Given that chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has such profound meaning, it is crucial to remember when we chant that Myoho Renge-kyo is our lives themselves. If we lose sight of this point, then no matter how much we may chant, we have departed from the practice of chanting taught by Nichiren Daishonin. Therefore, on attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime, this Gosho, Nichiren writes a stern warning. Even though you chant and believe in Myoho Renge-kyo, chant and believe. That would seem to almost say faith, right? If you think the law is outside yourself, then you haven't been listening to the teaching, all right? Even though you chant and believe in Myoho Renge-kyo, if you think the law is outside yourself, you are embracing not the mystic law, but an inferior teaching. You've decided your perception of what it means is the way it is. Inferior here means incomplete. Inferior here means incomplete. The mystic law is the ultimate truth that is perfect and complete. In contrast, an incomplete teaching sets forth only a partial truth. And if the truth that you know doesn't include that you are the Buddha, then it's incomplete. Do you understand? All right. So the above passage contains a profound philosophy that overcomes one of the serious pitfalls to which religion as a whole tends to succumb. It also embodies a crucial philosophy of faith for attaining genuine happiness. Religion is generally held to be a universal endeavor to connect the human being to the infinite, absolute, and sacred. While in a sense this may be true, it seems that many religions postulate from the outset a separation between the secular and the sacred, and between human beings and gods or Buddhas, and thus seek to bridge that gap. Nichiren, however, regards teachings that view the absolute or sacred as separate from human beings as incomplete. Why?
Because you don't see yourself as
They don't perceive the truth that, yes. Okay. And he cites as an example the provisional pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, which do not set forth the principles or practices that enable ordinary people to attain Buddhahood in this lifetime. Rather, they espouse that one must first undergo innumerable kalpas of austere practice before enlightenment can be achieved. In the provisional pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, a virtually insurmountable gulf exists between Buddhas and ordinary people. Yeah, because the Buddhas are all portrayed or described as being supernatural beings. Only a very few exceptional practitioners who, after having undergone austerities for countless kalpas, can even attempt to reach the goal of enlightenment, according to those teachings. Moreover, according to these teachings, it is inconceivable for someone who has become a Buddha to go back to being an ordinary person. You'd go off to a Buddha land, right? You'd never come in contact with regular people anymore. As a rule, according to these teachings, the world where Buddhas dwell is not this strife-filled Sahe world where us ordinary people reside. Buddhas and ordinary people are completely separate. That's why they're objects of devotion in altars. And we're on our knees, right? Buddhas and ordinary people are completely separate. Therefore, as long as that divide exists between the world of Buddhahood and the 9 worlds, the realm of ordinary beings, it naturally follows that there is no way for all people to attain enlightenment. In this worldview, ordinary people and the idealized Buddhas are poles apart, thus leaving ordinary people with no option but to aspire for salvation through the assistance or intervention of such Buddhas. This perceived separation between, and by the way, Mr. Lee, that's the wisdom that he was talking about. That you asked the question, I'll get to at a different time, but this is the answer to the last question that you put from last week's video, Mr. Lee. In this worldview, ordinary people and the idealized Buddhas are poles apart, thus leaving ordinary people with no option but to aspire for salvation through the assistance or intervention of such Buddhas or higher beings. This perceived separation between the 9 worlds and the world of Buddhahood is demolished by the Lotus Sutra doctrine of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life brought forth by Tiantai. In other words, the teaching that the 9 worlds have the potential for Buddhahood and that Buddhahood retains the 9 worlds. Okay, now he's going to go on. That's a quote from the Selection of Time. Here we see the immense importance of the Lotus Sutra principle of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds. But if you really want to see where he describes how this is demolished, go to this Gosho, where, not the one essential phrase. Pardon me. You pulled my,
Yes,
I can't show.
yes.
No.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
where
that
this
one
was.
is here. Yeah.
Where was this? Oh, you stuck something in there? Okay, yeah, there it is. Thank you, dear. The essence of the lifespan chapter is the Gosho that will explain this demolished. And what he's really describing when he uses the word demolished to explain this is that up until Nichiren, okay, the most highly evolved correct understanding, according to the Lotus Sutra, would be people practicing Lotus Sutra would be Tentai's perception of Ichinen Sanzen, right? And the manner in which you would go about to try to achieve that Ichinen Sanzen was the Makashikan, great concentration and insight, right? But you had to have a lot of preliminary understanding to get to that point. If you go to page 183, the Daishonin will explain that when we come to the lifespan chapter of the essential teaching, the belief that Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood for the first time in India is demolished. Why? Because he says so, right? And so subsequently, once he demolishes that expedient means, everything else in terms of the other relevant teachings of the Buddhism that had been taught prior to the Lotus Sutra starts crumbling. Everything is demolished. Everything that he said prior to that point then suddenly becomes an expedient means. It's no longer the truth. Do you understand? It's now been declared by the Buddha to have been an expedient means and not really the truth. In these more than 40 years, I have yet to reveal the truth, he says the Lotus Sutra. So he says it's demolished. That demolished comes from page 183 from that Gosha. He says, here we see the immense importance of the Lotus Sutra principle of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds. Because until that's brought forth by Tentai, there is no mechanism for a common mortal to become a Buddha, or for a Buddha to exist in the Sahe world. Okay? Then, Nichiren opened the way. He opened the way because no one had ever created this opportunity to establish actual Ichinen Sanzen, a means to achieve Buddhahood in your present form. Nichiren opened the way to actualizing this latter principle, which is the key to attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime, by establishing the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. He says, what Tentai practiced was theoretical. Wouldn't get you there, really. It would only get you to the stage of hearing the name and the words of the truth, for God's sake. Okay? So, this constitutes in its fullest and most complete form the teaching of Buddhism that seeks enlightenment for all human beings. Everybody understood what I just said there, right? Okay. Page 23, summoning forth and manifesting the Buddha nature. The mystic law is the fundamental law of the universe. Its universality transcends our individual selves. As indicated by its description as the mystic truth that is originally inherent in all living beings, that truth is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Mr. Lee. However, the mystic law also exists within our lives. On attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime, it both resides within us and transcends us. Okay? Everybody understand what that meant, right? It's not just us, it's everything. Okay? Put another way, the mystic law is inherent in our lives because it is the all-embracing law that pervades everything in the universe. In his writing on how those initially aspiring to the way can attain Buddhahood through the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren explains the essence of Myoho Renge-kyo as follows. As for the meaning of Myoho Renge-kyo, the Buddha nature inherent in us, ordinary people, the Buddha nature of Brahma, Chakra, and the other deities, the Buddha nature of Shariputra, Mogdayana, and the other voice hearers, the Buddha nature of Manjushri, Maitreya, and the other Bodhisattvas, and the mystic law that is the enlightenment of the Buddhas of the three existences are one and identical. That means there's no separation between them. This principle is called Myoho Renge-kyo. Not only is Myoho Renge-kyo our own Buddha nature, he says, but it is also the Buddha nature of all heavenly deities, voice hearers, bodhisattvas, and so on. Moreover, this Buddha nature is identical to the mystic law, to which the Buddhas of the three existences, past, present, and future, are enlightened. Nichiren then goes on to explain that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a practice in which we summon forth and manifest the Buddha nature inherent. It's already there. This is how we summon forth, and it becomes a real thing. The 10th world becomes active in the 9 worlds. Nichiren then goes on to explain that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a practice in which we summon forth and manifest the Buddha nature inherent in the lives of all beings of the 10 worlds. Therefore, once we chant Myoho Renge-kyo with just that single sound, we summon forth and manifest the Buddha nature of all Buddhas, all existences, all bodhisattvas, all voice hearers, all the deities such as Brahma, Chakra, and the King Yama, the sun and the moon, the myriad stars, the heavenly gods, the earthly deities, on down to the hell dwellers, hungry spirits, animals, asuras, human and heavenly beings, and all the other living beings. This blessing is immeasurable and boundless. With this single sound, we summon forth and manifest the Buddha nature of everything in the phenomenal realm. Regardless the meaning of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, he further states, regarding the meaning of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, he further states, when we revere Myoho Renge-kyo inherent in our own lives, when we revere the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo that's us, as our object, as the object of devotion, the Buddha nature within us is summoned forth and manifested by our chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This is what is meant by Buddha. It's nothing more than that. The expression is summoned forth and manifested points to the profound significance of the mystic law. Nichiren uses a wonderful metaphor to explain this principle of calling forth and revealing the inner nature, the inner Buddha nature, summoning and calling forth. He's going to describe it. When a caged bird, and this is also still from how those initially aspiring to attain the way. He says, Nichiren he says, when a caged bird sings, birds who are flying in the sky are thereby summoned and gather around. And when the birds flying in the sky gather around, the bird in the cage strives to get out. The singing of this caged bird refers to the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo by ordinary people, us, who, shackled in the chains of fundamental darkness and earthly desires, arouse faith in the mystic law. That's overcoming all of that impediment stuff that we were referring before. In other words, it is the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with faith. He puts that caveat in again. It's not just chanting with faith, which is expressed as the determination to win over all obstacles, which is expressed as never giving up. Okay? And become happy without fail through the power of the mystic law. Okay? So that's the whole ball of wax. It includes everything. Now how does he go on to qualify it? The power of such strong, determined chanting. Okay? So it takes strong, determined chanting. Now we can talk about what we can expect from it. In the absence of what we're supposed to put in on the front end, don't expect what I'm going to describe on the back end. It only comes from the causality of what I talked, that thing that we just discussed. The power of such strong, determined chanting calls forth the Buddha nature in all living beings. In all living beings. Not just the ones that embrace the mystic law. That's why we can do Kosen Rufu, even though we're a small bunch of people doing this. Okay? Not only does the Buddha nature of Brahma and Chakra and of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout the universe manifest, but those chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can also sever the chains of fundamental darkness and illusion and reveal their own Buddha nature. In other words, it is the power of our voices chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo that connects our lives with the mystic law, pervading all phenomena of the 3,000 realms, which would enable us to have the power to influence everything and be the Buddha and do Kosen Rufu by ourselves. Just me. Right? In Letter to Nikkei, Nichiren further explains the significance of chanting through the analogy of a mother bird and an egg. He says that the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is like the warmth of the mother bird. At first, there is nothing inside the egg but the liquid. We don't have faith yet. We're in the process of developing that. But as a result of being warmed by the mother bird, as a result of chanting Daimoku anyhow, okay, the beak, eyes, and feathers are formed. We start to take on the 32 characteristics or attributes mystically, without understanding what they even are, without even desiring them. All right? Eventually, the baby bird breaks through the shell and hatches, and is soon flying into the sky like its mother. But these are all phases that it goes through, isn't it? Starting with the mother, keeping it warm, helping it incubate. In this analogy, the substance within the egg represents the Buddha nature of living beings, while the mother bird represents the Buddha who leads others to enlightenment. The chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is at once the voice of faith of ordinary people and a function of the life state of Buddhahood. Nichiren's most important admonition in regard to attaining enlightenment through chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is that we must not view the law as something outside ourselves. If we think the law exists externally, then we are reverting to the kind of divide between Buddhas and ordinary people found in the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, which means, again,
Right.
if we go to the altar and we see the piece of paper and we don't perceive that this is a mechanism to bring forth the truth of our lives, make it inherent and obvious to us, then we're missing the point.
Right.
All right? Continuing at the bottom of page 24. Perceiving that one's own life is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo.
Yeah.
The chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has immeasurable beneficial power. But Josei Toda, the second Soka Gakkai president, described, so to all of you that have created your own little versions of what you think Nam-myoho Renge-kyo really is, I suggest that you drop that shit. Okay? It's very clearly already described. All right? Josei Toda, the second Soka Gakkai president, described the infinite power of the mystic law as follows. It is like lying sprawled on your back. Now, listen to how Mr. Toda explains this. Think of yourself in those happy moments when you are in that state of Buddhahood. Okay? And everything is so clear. And you don't know why you're so happy. It's just that you feel such a happiness from what you know, what your
Perceive the truth. Your ego.
existence.
Yes.
Okay? So he says, it is like lying sprawled on your back in a wide open space, looking up at the sky. All that you wish for immediately appears. No matter how much you may give away, there is always more. It is never exhausted. Try and see if you can attain this state of life. Okay? That's understanding the truth. Indeed, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can be likened to a wish-granting jewel. How can we develop the boundless state of life that enables us to bring forth whatever strength is necessary? So what is he really saying here? If we chant Daimoka to attain Buddhahood, we don't have to chant to get benefits anymore. The benefits come naturally.
Yes.
The benefits come to manifest our Buddha nature for the sake of others and to reveal to the others the truth and the strength of that understanding and that faith. Indeed, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can be likened to a wish-granting jewel. How can we develop the boundless state of life that enables us to bring forth whatever strength is necessary? President Toda often used to say, if you really want to achieve such a state of life, you have to fight. You have to fight with every ounce of your being for the Lotus Sutra and for Kosen Rufu. If you want to get there, you have to be the Buddha, because that's what the Buddha does, and that's what the Buddha cares about. The Buddha doesn't care about living in a big house, although a big house may be a result of that fortune. It's not necessarily a reflection of happiness. Okay? So, again, fighting for Kosen Rufu, being the Bodhisattva of the earth that you are. Such was the vast and untrammeled spirit of my mentor, the spirit to strive forever together with the Buddhas of the three existences and with the life-affirming functions of the universe, such as Brahma and Chakra, wherever in the universe we might find ourselves. The spirit to actualize a world of happiness and peace dedicated to value creation by helping people overcome misery and misfortune and the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death. That was so deep. Do you understand what he just said? Okay, what did we just talk about? We talked about up here, he's going, it's like you're on your back, it's like being in an open field looking up at the sky and feeling this sense of joy and feeling no sense of necessity to hold on to anything. You can give it all away. All you care about is establish happiness for others. He says, how does that happen? He says, because you're a bodhisattva of the earth. When you fight with every ounce of your being for the Lotus Sutra, for Kosen Rufu, you are an original disciple of the original teacher. Okay? Such was the vast and untrammeled spirit of my mentor. This was President Toda taught this. This wasn't taught in the okos by the priests. This is the Buddhism of the sun that's being discussed here. Okay? This isn't Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism. Such was the vast and untrammeled spirit of my mentor, the spirit to strive forever together. With the Buddhas of the three existences, and with the life-affirming functions of the universe, such as Brahma and Chakra, wherever in the universe we might find ourselves, the spirit to actualize a world of happiness and peace dedicated to value creation by helping people overcome misery, misfortune, and the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death. What's he talking about? Again, he's talking about this life state. You feel all this joy. He's talking about Kosen Rufu. And then what did you just talk about? mastering the source of such empowerment. And what is the purpose for that mastery? What is the purpose for that mastery? Is it for you?
Others.
It's for others. It's for Kosen Rufu.
Right.
It's for Kosen Rufu.
Right.
That's what he's trying to say. When we can actually care about world peace, becoming real through the propagation of the law, instead of it just being freaking happy talk that we say and it's meaningless because we're really not striving for the achievement of that. We're just trying to survive in this world. Okay?
That sucks.
Our mind, well, our mind is what determines whether that is that. Okay?
Right.
So he's talking about that kind of mind.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to be confused by what I'm talking about when I talk about that kind of mind.
Right.
That's the mind of the Buddha. That's the fearlessness. There's no worries there. That's 100% confidence.
It's a wonderful place.
Of the one that is.
Yes. That's why we
It's
chant.
deep.
Yes.
Okay, let me try and keep going here.
Yeah.
By helping people overcome misery and misfortune and the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death, by caring about others. Throughout everything, Mr. Toda steadfastly continued to seek the law that exists nowhere but within our own lives. And he stressed the importance of living true to oneself, the law that exists nowhere but within our own lives. His starting point was his profound realization in prison that the Buddha is life itself, and his awakening to his identity as a bodhisattva of the earth. And that didn't occur because the priest taught him that, frankly speaking. He also often spoke of the spirit of faith. He got that straight from the Lotus Sutra and the Gosho. He also often spoke of the spirit of faith we need in order to perceive the mystic law within us, saying, you have to be resolved that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is your life, is your own life. So he's again saying the way to get in, to get to this place, is to buy in to Nichiren's teaching, to believe what Nichiren taught. Nichiren is the one that taught that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is your own life. Not Daisaku Ikeda, not nobody else. This is Nichiren's teaching. Okay? Or propagating the mystic law in the latter day means firmly believing that your life is nothing apart from Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This is the spirit Nichiren teaches in the passage, when you chant Myoho and recite Renge, you must summon up deep faith that Myoho Renge-kyo is your life itself. He says that's what he was talking about when he said, when you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, you should summon up the spirit that Myoho Renge-kyo is your life itself. A universal religion for the happiness of all humankind. Generally speaking, page 25, and then I'm done. Generally speaking, religions expound some infinite and eternal entity that transcends both human beings and the impermanence of this world, using such terms as God or law. Different religions regard this infinite and eternal entity variously as a source of fear and awe, an object of adoration, a great void of emptiness, or a wellspring of all-embracing love. Nichiren Daishonin saw the power of the mystic law that encompasses and sustains all things in the universe as existing within human beings. And he established a means for actually manifesting that law in their lives. And he fully qualifies mine is a different teaching than Tiantai's. His is theoretical, mine's actual. Mine is a different teaching than Shakyamuni's. His is the Buddhism of harvest, mine's the Buddhism of sowing. Okay? So, during my second lecture at Harvard University in September 1993, I proposed 3 areas where Mahayana Buddhism could contribute to modern civilization. 1, fostering the creation of peace. 2, in paving the way toward restoration and rejuvenation of humanity. And 3, in providing a philosophical basis for the symbolic coexistence of all things. Pardon me. 3, in providing a philosophical basis for the symbiotic. That's a completely different word than symbolic. For this, does everybody know what symbiotic means? It means that everything is functioning within and in accord with one another. In other words, it's because of you I can live. Symbiotic, something that has symbiosis is coexistence dependent. Okay, symbiotic relationships are things that exist because of one another. Okay, so he's saying, in providing a philosophical basis for a symbiotic coexistence of all things, all religions could exist together, okay, without being enemies. All right, just let's base this on what's true, what shows real power. All right, in connection with the second point, if you didn't threaten everybody with going to hell, a lot of them would try something else. Okay. In connection with the second point, I stress the important significance of the approach of Nichiren Buddhism, which teaches neither an exclusive reliance on the power of self, nor on the power of other. This perspective has resonated deeply with many scholars. Only by communing and fusing with the power of other, which is eternal and transcends our limited finite selves, can we wholly activate the power of self. At the same time, however, this eternal, all-encompassing power of other actually exists inherently in our lives. Nichiren writes, people are certainly self-empowered, and yet they are not self-empowered. People are certainly other-empowered, and yet they are not other-empowered. What this means, I believe, is that by relying neither exclusively on the power of other, nor on the power of self, we can manifest the power that exists within us, yet transcends ourselves. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo enables us to do this. In this way, Nichiren Buddhism opens up a broad new vision of universal religion for the happiness of all humankind, one that transcends the approach of teachings that strictly divide external power and the individual's own power, and that emphasizes one over the other. Let me say this one more time, okay, because we're at the end of this chapter, and what he's asking you to do, what he's talking about right here, is something that you will all need to do for many years to come. None of you have practiced as long as I have. For many years to come, all right? Communing. He says, only by, at the top of page 26, only by communing and fusing with the power of other. That's this sense of when you're having this contemplative conversation with the Gohonzon, okay? You're only really talking to yourself, but you're not only really talking to yourself, because it's your Buddha nature that you're communicating with, and that Buddha nature transcends everything. Do you understand?
Right.
Read it again from that perspective. I mean, listen to me read it again from that perspective. Only by communing and fusing with the power of other, which is eternal and transcends our limited, finite selves, which totally describes me sitting in front of that Gohonzon, okay, as a 9-world person doing my 10th world thing, right? Can we wholly activate the power of self? That means, like, really become kick-ass Buddhas, okay, that are only in it for Kosen Rufu. We don't need to be in it for anything but Kosen Rufu. All right? At the same time, however, this external, all-encompassing power of other actually exists in our own lives. in our lives. It's not outside of ourselves. Okay? This thing that connects everything else is also connected to us, and because of that, we're connected to everything else. All right? Nichiren writes, people are certainly self-empowered, and yet they are not self-empowered. People are certainly other-empowered, and yet they are not other-empowered. Are you getting where I'm coming from? It's relying on the power of the Gohonzon and relying on the power of our own life to be able to utilize the power of the Gohonzon. Do you understand? Because you're certainly capable of not utilizing the power of the Gohonzon, even if you're chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's the point that I'm trying to make. It is always a blend of the two.
Yes.
All right? People are certainly other empowered, yet they are not other empowered. What this means, I believe, is that by relying neither exclusively on the power of what we think, nor on the power of, pardon me. What this means, I believe, is that by relying neither exclusively on the power of other, nor on the power of self. So, what would be exclusively on the power of other? Not exclusively on the power of other. What would be exclusively on the power of other? That would be going to the Gohonzon and say, save me, fix this, make it all change, and you didn't do shit other than that. Right. All you had to do was pray. You didn't have to take action.
Right.
Okay? This is Miracleville. Right? This is God sending us gifts. That's that one. He says, so if you don't count on that, if you realize that you must be the one that makes the causes that creates all this, this isn't going to come as a gift. You're going to earn every bit of it.
Right.
All right? Let me say it again. What this means, I believe, is that be relying neither exclusively on the power of other nor the power of self. I'm not going to try and do it without chanting. I'm not going to rely just on chanting. I'm going to do both. I'm going to be a Buddha in the 9 worlds. I'm going to be like Nichiren. I'm going to be the same mind as Nichiren, which is the same as being the same mind as Daisaku Ikeda. That's all. People give shit to Daisaku Ikeda about being. It's just the mind of Nichiren. It's the mind of Bodhisattva of the earth. And again, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo enables us to do this. In this way, Nichiren Buddhism opens up a broad new vision of a universal religion, because that doesn't exclude a whole lot. That's based on self and other, and includes everything. Doesn't exclude anything. A universal religion for the happiness of all humankind, one that transcends the approach of teachings that strictly divide external power and the individual's own power, and that emphasize one over the other. It's always both together if you want to get the max. Thank you. Chapter 4 next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.